we are primed now. That's what the pre-show's for, everybody.
Yeah. Episode's dedicated to Daryl Skills.
Yep.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace. Just kidding. He's alive. All right. That's terrible. Let's do it. It starts all up in proper order in the following seconds. Here we go. All right. In 3, 2, volume's good. 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Core. This is Core, talking video games, doing it with our friends. I'm Scott Johnson. It's Bo Schwartz and John Jagger. And we're back. It's a day late, not $1 short, though. Normally we record on Wednesdays, but I'll just be honest with you. How do I put this without grossing everybody out? I had the runs. There you go. I had the runs yesterday. Real bad, like. I don't know what's going on. I got some kind of bug. And it was so bad, 7 o'clock starts rolling around. I'm like, oh, guys, I don't know. This isn't going to work very well. I'm going to have to get up every 5 minutes and leave the show. And they were kind to say, all right, fine, let's bump it a day. So now we're here a day later, and I'm all plugged up. I'm good now. Got some kind of cork board up there. No, I don't know what. I think it's just going away. I think it's going away. It's just going away. It's fine.
Why cork board?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking. Corkboard's the stuff you pin pictures on and to-do lists and stuff, right?
I think it's like he's thinking of a wine cork.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's what I mean.
You took that little thing and you plugged it in and screwed it in.
Yep, plugged it in, screwed it in, sealed. Ran it through the trouble, did it. Hey, everybody.
Sealed and it will be fermented later.
Forever and ever. Hey, it's good to be here. It's good to have us all back and good to be talking about video games again. I think it'd be fun today to start with a little discussion about cloud gaming. Everybody keeps jamming this down our throats. Hey, cloud gaming's coming, everybody. Freaking Microsoft's got their thing, and here comes Google with Stadia, a terrible name, but it's going to be good, or is it? And everybody else with their plans. We don't know what Sony's going to do in terms of cloud gaming moving forward, or what this may mean to PC solutions outside of Stadia. No one's really talking about that. Certainly Nintendo living in their own weird world that probably doesn't care about any of this. So what does it mean for the future of gaming? Does it mean anything for Microsoft in terms of their return to dominance in the next generation of consoles? It's fun to talk about. So Phil Spencer talked about it. Phil Spencer, currently head of Xbox, and probably my favorite of all the console / front-facing gamer CEO types. I think he's my favorite. The Sony guy wigs me out. Can we talk about that for just a second? No offense to him. I'm sure he's the nicest guy ever. But he looks like...
Which one?
The one that's in there now. He's the... Not okay, so before him was the dude I actually really like because he looked like a hitman for the mob. And I liked him. I can't think of his name.
Are you talking about the guy who looks like a slightly smushed Robin Leach?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one. And he kind of looks like the Penguin a little bit. And he's a little evil sounding because he'll get up and go, yes, video games, they're great. And ha 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 kind of attitude about everything.
He does the hand thing. He does like the Mr. Burns hand.
Yeah, does this a lot.
And that's not going to get you very far if you do the Mr. Burns.
Is it Kaz Hirai?
No, that was the Japanese head of PlayStation who's now retired from that. And that guy's awesome. Not him, though. It's PS... Sony Entertainment America.
Andrew House?
Maybe? Is that him? Andrew House.
They call him the PlayStation boss. I don't know who they call the head of.
Nope, that's not him. That's the Welsh guy. He's cool too. Let's see. Head of PlayStation.
Just look up who does their keynotes. You'll probably find him.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, let's do that.
Or you could Google slightly squished Robin Leach. I'm sure he'd pull up.
I'm going to put PlayStation keynote guy. And it's not Sean Layden because he left. I can't find his name. Someone in the chat figure it out.
This is what we need the chat for.
Yes, please. So anyway, that guy is weird. I really like Phil Spencer because he just feels like he's one of us. He feels like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's purely an aesthetic sort of presentation
I don't think it is. I think when you hear Phil Spencer's ideas and how he sees the evolution of Xbox and gaming in general, it is very counter big corporation, very counter what you typically would expect from a big company, especially a company like Microsoft. And I think a lot of people have a tendency to respond to that because I think we get very used to the usual PR BS that we get churned out every year from these people. And I think having somebody come out and go, I just want you to play our games, and I really don't care how you do it. Like, if you buy an Xbox, that'd be great. But honestly, it's time for you to just play our games. We just want to make rad games, and we want you to play them. And like, that's a unique stance to take. I mean, that's the thing that everybody else says, but you get the impression Phil means.
Yeah, it feels like that's a great way to put it. Feels like Phil means it when he says it. And it feels like it's also in keeping with Microsoft's other sort of recent pivots and objectives, which is our stuff on more platforms, less about trying to trap people in an ecosystem, which was very much the message of the PS4 launch, or the Xbox One launch. Just overall, I've said it on the show before. I'll just reiterate it. I think of all of the big names that will be pushing new hardware on us in the coming years, they're the one I'm most excited about. And this comes from somebody who has in the past anyway, been very dedicated to what PlayStation does and what Sony does. And I think Microsoft's got a real chance here. So we'll see what happens. But he wanted to talk about cloud gaming in general. And some of these things came out in this interview, and it's pretty great. So this is on GameSpot. Check this out. He says, likens cloud gaming to Netflix. Feels like it happened overnight, but actually took about 20 years for Netflix to go from A to B. So that's interesting. Says there are tons of devices out there, so cloud is not serving an immediate need when platforms we have support a different system. Most importantly, and I want to talk about this one for a second, says that lag is a thing and we should be truthful about this. So what do we think he means by that? Like,
well, in the further context of it, I remember reading this part, and I guess there's a lot of conversation about not having tried Stadia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he referenced them by name, but not having tried it, everyone's like, "Yeah, the lag's gonna be bad, man." Everyone's very incredulous, even if people say like, "No, it was totally fine. I played it." Everyone's like, "Yeah, but," and he's saying like, "Yeah, lag could very well be a thing. We shouldn't just sweep it under the rug or market it away like it won't be a thing that's gonna bother hardcore gamers."
Mm-hmm.
And that's not. Because I think the response is like, "Oh, it's negligible, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, "No, it's not negligible. It's a legit concern." So he's kind of validating, I guess, those concerns from people that like it needs to be perfect or there's no point to it.
I like that stance a lot. That's great. Yes, John.
It's a case where, again, this goes back to what we were just saying about him, which is there's that corporate speak of, "Oh, it's going to be lightning fast. You won't even notice it." And it's like, well, yeah, but except the problem is that as soon as people buy it and try it, we are, if it's there.
Right.
And having somebody say, let's be real, it's there. And it's probably not going to be a problem for a lot of games. But if you're into highly competitive Twitch shooters or fighting games or things like that, this probably isn't a viable option at this exact moment.
Yeah, and the honesty is nice. It's a bit of a relief because I don't want to go headlong into that stuff and just have corporate speak dictate the day and then have backlash and then deal with all of that noise. I would rather them get out in front of it and say, while this is continually improving and is finally in a position or finally in a state where it can be a viable, broad-ranging product, it will just continue to improve. I think the Netflix comparison is actually apt, not just in terms of how big they got or how permeated in the culture they are now, but also that time was about bandwidth becoming better and their services becoming better and video codecs and compression becoming better and a million things that sort of improved and iterated over that time. Like, that's what's happening here, and we're going to jump into it at a certain point in that timeline, and it will continue to grow and improve. And I like that they are willing to sort of say, we know that, and so come with us on this journey as it improves. Like, that's the right thing to be telling me to sell me on this. Not, it's the greatest thing ever. You'll have no problems. This is the future, and then I buy your thing and I have trouble with it. or the internet goes out one day and I'm reminded that it's 100% ISP dependent. Like all of those things are going to come up, and I trust that line a lot more than I would.
Yeah, I think it's
others.
the sudden left turn into new technology that he's like, that's not how this works. So
Right.
Again, he didn't call out, I think, any products by name. I can't remember, but clearly referring to Stadia. Right. So they had, because they're doing a mobile thing, right, for the new Xbox, where you're going to be able to play your Xbox game stream to your mobile phone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that, I assume, will use cloud computing on some level, I think, or at least local network stuff. Like that technology is all related. But that's not what they're selling their product on. And I mean, I think he thinks that, like, Nintendo and PlayStation are not going to be turbocharging into this technology until it's viable. So he says like the next 10 or 20 years.
Yeah. Which is a realistic benchmark to me.
So it just seems like avoid Stadia at all costs.
I mean, and there's no reason for them, especially after the kind of console generation they had, to feel like they have to be the trendsetter on this.
Yeah.
Like not to say that playing it safe is always a great option, but like right now isn't exactly the time for Microsoft to say, hey, let's take a gamble on new technology. I know we had a real bad console generation, but I think if we double down and just really put all our eggs in a new technology basket, I think this will turn out well for us.
Yeah, I do too.
Well,
go ahead, Bo.
Well, I just hope they learned their lesson from the Xbox One gaffe, because it was Phil that did that keynote, right? Like he was all part of that. I think the article went on to explain some of the context around that, but it was really marketed that year. I guess it was PlayStation 4 versus Xbox One. I remember watching you, Scott, do your live stream during E3 or the presentations, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And just being like, PlayStation won this hands down. PlayStation's like, we got to get your games. And that year Phil was like, we've got NFL and we've got HBO on here, and everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was a misstep. But I feel like, I don't know, he's been earning a lot of reputation.
Well, it's a different dude since then, right? Who was the guy before? Who was the guy?
I think it was Phil Spencer.
No. It was somebody else. Who's that guy that doesn't work there anymore?
Really?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I thought Phil Spencer was.
He was part of it. Like he might have been. He might have been there. He
was in charge of Microsoft Game Studios at the time, and then he replaced. Oh, what's his name?
By the way, seeing as we're trying to think of another name, let's scratch one off the list. It's Sean Layden.
Sean Layden.
We were thinking of
for
the PlayStation,
right.
And now we can move on to thinking about a different one.
Right. It's hold on, I got it right here. Nope, this is the wrong Phil Spencer. That's fantastic. All right. Well, anyway, takes over of Xbox division. Let's find this guy's name, because the guy really rubbed me wrong when he was there. His name was Spencer, 25 years, Microsoft Studios Worldwide Manager in 2008, Corporate Vice President following year. Okay, blah, blah, blah. He takes over for Don Matrick.
That's the one.
Don Matrick. He's the one that went up there and blew smoke up our butts, and then when somebody questioned him on their old games, he said, well, you already have a console for that. It's called the Xbox 360. That guy, that a-hole. Anyway, remember him?
I thought it was. I remember Phil being there. I thought he was part of that presentation. I guess I was mistaken.
He might have for some software stuff, because he was head of.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around for a while as a public-facing person, but you're right. Maybe he wasn't head honcho.
Yeah, he was there for 25 years at Microsoft, up to the point he was made head of Xbox. Which anyway, and as soon as he did, it felt like the tenor changed. And I don't like blaming one guy for everything.
That's how you market to stakeholders. Like, we're gonna be the box in the house. It's not how you market to consumers. There's not enough seduction in it.
Yep, it did not work.
And I mean, we've slowly.
You're going to love me. I'm gonna make you love me and be the only one. It's like, I don't think I want to anymore.
We've seen that shift even this generation. I mean, I think if I'm being honest, obviously, most of my gaming is done on the PC, but if you said, John, what are you more interested in, the Xbox, Project Scarlet that's coming out, or the PS5? As somebody who currently owns a PS4 and does not own an Xbox One, I'm more interested in Xbox Scarlet, because I feel like they were late to the game, but they've made such good decisions for that console, and I feel like Sony's been going the other way. You see Sony in a real like, we don't have to do anything. We're the big guns. We don't have to share online spaces with people. We can be closed off. We can do whatever we want. And I think there's a dynamic shift there. And I think Phil Spencer's a big part of why that's shifting for Microsoft.
Yeah, I agree. It's good stuff. He also went on to say, where was it? Oh, says that their xCloud gaming is focused on mobile gaming streamed through local machines in the home. It is not an overnight change. Development will be incremental over time. So we talked about that in the next decade or two. They're going to really push through that. And 5 other fairly interesting articles about Phil Spencer published over time on GameSpot in like a single day. It's good for them to get out in front of this. I'm still disappointed that we learned so little about any of this at E3. E3 was weird for me and Microsoft, from my perception anyway. I know that's, mileage may vary, but I was kind of bummed at the messaging there. It just didn't seem like they were giving us much to look at that we already didn't know.
I thought the message was okay, but I thought them saying like, hey, we're going to make a powerful new system is a fine message. They didn't show any of it. There was like, it might as well have been a piece of paper that said, yeah, we're making a new Xbox and it's going to be good.
Right. And I thought
it's like, okay, but you're up on the stage. You have no competition this year. You have a chance to really set the world on fire. And you came out and said, yeah, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And then walked away.
Yeah. All of that was weird. I think it was a bigger opportunity and they didn't capitalize on it. I don't know why, but I still think they're on message in terms of where their efforts are being put, and I have a lot of faith in it. They'd have to do a lot to totally disappoint me with what they do with the next Xbox, because I think this is their time to shine. This is a chance for them not only to differentiate themselves, but to spread themselves in further corners they have not previously been, on more platforms they've not previously been, and giving PC more priority. Like, there's just a lot that could happen here that is all good for them, and they would have to really blow it for my perception to be shattered, I think. So I guess good on them, and I hope they keep going. I mean, if you guys had to choose today, John, I'm going to make a scenario here that you can't deny. How about consoles are only going to be $10, but the rule is, for the next generation, the rule is, though, you only can buy one of them. You can't have 2 of them. So at this stage, knowing what you know, knowing the strength of PlayStation first-party development, knowing the strength of this xCloud stuff and PC crossover that Microsoft is involved in, and they're pretty good subscription models, whatever good points and bad points you want to include in your evaluation, of those 2 that go on sale today, you can only get one. Price is not an issue. What do you do today?
Wow, this is hard. Especially because I just said I was more interested in Xbox Scarlet. Mm-hmm. I think I would go with the PlayStation. And here's why. I say that, but I want to make it clear 100% of that decision is from, I feel like I have a better idea of what games are going to land on the next PlayStation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of speculation that the next Last of Us is going to be on there. I'm sure there's going to be a follow-up to the Spider-Man game that set the world on fire. Sony has a lot of first-party games I know I'm going to want, and I know I'm going to want to buy. And there's a good chance that those Microsoft games are going to probably wind up on the PC, and I might have another way to play those.
There's no PC in this world.
Oh, okay, wait. Bo's adding new rules. Hold on, this is good. So take no PC out of the argument.
You can't add that. So PCs just don't exist.
Yeah,
and I only get one. I can never buy the other.
You can never buy the other.
Donald Trump went insane and outlawed them.
Oh.
Because they cause violence.
I don't know if
consoles.
he had to have a change of heart to actually get to that point. But anyway, okay. Frick.
I like how Scott's laughing so much.
It's funny because it's
really...
really...
At some point we're going to turn this around and ask you, Scott.
I know,
Is it because Trump's already crazy?
No.
He's laughing about the Donald Trump thing.
I'm actually laughing about this impossible answer he has to give, because...
there's no PC. Stop beating around the bush. Just give your answer.
We've created
a reason why.
We created...
I mean,
I get a chance to answer too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'll say I'll say Microsoft in this situation.
It's
I'd say
tough.
Scarlet.
Yeah.
But it's
If you want
tough.
to change it, you can. So let me say mine because I'm very definitive.
All
No
right.
PCs in this world, no mobile gaming, just a console. What do you pick?
Yeah.
Easy, PlayStation,
Wow.
because they've
Okay.
got VR.
Oh.
They
Okay.
have actually interesting technology that Xbox isn't really working on. You know, Kinect is trash.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Interesting. So you
Hmm.
think that the fact that they are the thing is we don't know what their next
They're
generation
ahead of the technology race right now, you know, in terms of gimmicks that are cool, you know, versus Xbox, who will have good games, but an exclusively, John's point about exclusives both on Nintendo and Xbox are going to be sad, but ultimately I'm going to want to see where VR goes. So
Right.
PlayStation's what I'm doing it.
That's interesting. And also because in your world, in the rules we've made, this also be a world without PC connected VR and without VR at all, except it's available on the PlayStation, right? Is that how you have to look at this? Because the truth is,
Well,
we don't know what their
'cause
next generation plans are for VR. It may be just the same. They're just going to carry it forward.
It could be at some point, but it's like, to me, that's indicative of PlayStation's willingness to try ancillary products and succeed at it. Like, or not auxiliary products. Like I said, I had a Kinect. It was not a great experience, but to me, that Kinect was not very, like, it was very much marketed as like a forward-thinking new way of gaming, but it was really just a gimmick thing.
It was pretty
Yeah.
And
bad.
Nintendo used to do that with their guns. Like I had the bazooka with the Super Nintendo, and that was really fun. Like stuff like that, I kind of dig that when consoles do it. The little robot when you play, what was it, like Gyros? What was it? There's a game. You know, you had the robot.
All right,
Remember
talking
Nintendo?
about like Robbie the robot.
Oh,
Yeah,
Whatever he is,
it was a
yeah.
cool game where like you'd move him and then it'd open up all the red doors or blue doors.
Yeah.
But you know, the other companies do it, but right now PlayStation's the one doing it, so that's the one.
But I mean, for all we know, Scarlet adds compatibility with all VR headsets. You know, we just don't know. But I see your point. Sony has shown an interest and an ability to not only have an interest but succeed at it, whereas Microsoft has had maybe an interest and
like
not.
today, I could
succeeded
get
with
No
it.
Man's Sky for PlayStation. I can play it in VR. I have a space sim on a console in VR. That's
pretty
my
cool.
decision made. I think
It sounds. I totally get what you're saying. The only question I have in my mind is moving forward. What do they want to do? Because as it stands right now, considering the second wave of VR stuff is already out there, PlayStation VR is pretty much now by far sort of the weakest of the solutions. And they've said nothing about a next generation bump to that. It's still just Move controllers and the VR one, and they said it will be forward compatible, and that's cool and all, but they don't. You know, they're not really iterating, so I have a lot of questions about that. But you both
I
answered.
can only base it on what we know, right? Not what
Right. I mean, in my perfect scenario, the companies join forces and suddenly the best first-party development joins the best technology backend, and now we have the greatest console maker of all time, possibly. But because I have to make a choice, John says Microsoft, you say Sony. I'm... Oh. First-party single-player games are big for me. I love a good game that doesn't require that I'm in a freaking chat room with people unless it's you guys. I like to escape into a game like the Uncharted games, or just name any number of really great first-party Sony product. That's a really hard thing for me to deny. But I also believe in my heart of hearts that Microsoft has both the pockets and the desire to build that kind of caliber first-party output. So I think if I'm and again, this is a lot of this has to do with you have to choose today, because in 4 months we may hear something new that'll make us go, oh my gosh, well, of course I'm changing my mind. But right now, if you had to choose today, I think I would go Microsoft, given that I think they can get there. And if PSVR was more important to me, I would probably go that other direction because it would be enough to push me over. But I actually think it's kind of the weakest of the VR right now.
I mean, I think the best way I can describe my feelings on it is I feel like PlayStation is a smart bet, like a safe bet for me. But I feel like if you want to say like where my prediction on where we would be going, that's where my pick becomes Microsoft.
Your prediction is Microsoft is going to be more awesome next cycle.
I guess I have more faith that it's going to be better in the next cycle, and if I'm just thinking about pure logic, pure numbers, I'm like, man, Sony's first party is really strong and has been for a while.
Right.
But it's also been, I mean, it has been strong, but will it continue to be strong? There's also some doubt there. I mean, we know there's going to be a sequel to The Last of Us. We're not sure if it's going to be on this generation or next. You know, Spider-Man's great, but that's maybe 1 or 2 games a console generation.
Yeah.
And, you know, when does the novelty of that wear off?
Right.
And beyond that, like, what are their big name franchises, you know, and are they able to stick around? That God of War was fantastic, but is it going to be fantastic again? You know, like, if they do it again, even.
It's a good point. Yep. It's a good point. I agree. And it's cyclical and these things go back and forth. I mean, if I'm honest, I don't know that too much of Microsoft's first party stuff has really blown me away that's coming. It's all looking okay, right? The Halo Infinite looks cool from what I can tell. But, you know, maybe it's just more Halo and that's not great. I don't know. More Gears doesn't really do it for me unless they do something that just blows my mind. Like, there are a few things I feel like they're relying on kind of flash in the pan, already dead franchises. Oh, I got to be careful when I say Halo's a dead franchise. People will email me until the sun comes up tonight. So forget I said that.
Dude, Halo's not dead. Microsoft's betting big money on its top streamer to play it. That whole ninja move is basically a Halo move.
Ooh, wait a minute. Hold on.
Is that true?
Bo,
did he say he was going to be going to play a lot of Halo?
Bo,
no, but like, it's clear, right?
Hold on, we got to play this.
No, this is not a Bo idea. I've read this on the internet. This did not originate from me.
Okay.
They are releasing a new Halo game, right?
Yeah, Halo Infinite.
New Halo in the works.
Yep.
And one of their old pros has become, like, what can argue the finer details of this, the most known streamer mainstream wise. They've paid them an exclusivity deal to be on their exclusive streaming platform. So on Xboxes, you'll be able to watch Ninja and all that. He's clearly going to be playing. You're going to try and make Halo a thing.
Yeah.
Think about how that worked with Apex, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one knew a damn thing about Apex, and then all these top streamers, shooter streamers, start playing it, and boom, Apex. Even if Apex receded, it made its way into the consciousness of that online gamer space. And if Phil Spencer's as smart as he portrays in those flattering articles about him, he's probably got to look at that Apex situation and go like, "Oh, Microsoft got money. We can do that."
And we have a streaming service. Yeah.
And we have a streaming service, and let's pay a bunch of the top talent to play the game. They should do that. If they don't do that, they're being foolish.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of it at all.
The game also has to not suck. And I don't know about you guys, but you might want to play a bumper for this, but like, Halo's, the whole series, super overrated.
Yeah.
Okay, Bo's deflecting for you. I was actually going to deflect for you as well, Scott, because I was going to say that
but people like it.
I completely skipped the last Halo game because that's where my interest level had fallen to. The one before it I thought was genuinely bad. Like, I don't think Halo is great. I don't think that franchise is an automatic win, and you can say people will email like, "Oh no, it's the best." I think they're going off of name value and having fun in multiplayer, which, yeah, there's fun to be had there. Sure, there's fun to be had in most multiplayer, but man, was I disappointed with that first with Halo 4, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Which was the
Halo 4
was the big Xbox. I bought Halo 3 for the Xbox.
The one where it was no longer Bungie, the first non-Bungie.
343 Studios took over at 4. So yes, 4 is the one that bummed everybody out.
I was so disappointed in that because it was a point to, like, make your mark. And this is something I think about a lot in video games. Like, think about Super Mario 64 and the music in that and how iconic that music is. I mean, we just had the other day, someone sent us a video of the fish going through the tubes, and it was playing that Mario 64 music as the fish went through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that music now gets used in new Mario games. They use that going forward, but there was a time when somebody said, no, this is the new music of Mario. This is what Mario sounds like now. It sounds different, and this is what it sounds like. Because rather than trying to just iterate and ride the coattails of what came before, they said, no, we're going to put our stamp on it, and we're going to make this ours. And that was kind of what Mario 64 was in a big way.
Yeah.
And now a lot of games just kind of borrow pieces from it and pull pieces from it and say, we're going to connect to it here and there. And I feel like Halo 4 was their first chance to really say, we're going to make this our own. We're going to make something totally different. And within minutes, you're back to just fighting the Covenant again, which didn't even make a ton of sense, narratively speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So is it just 4 you don't like? Because I think the whole series is overrated.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to give some love for
Halo
ODST.
1 and Halo 2. They're not great games.
ODST is a great Halo game. I loved ODST. And Reach.
I love ODST. I love Reach.
Reach is great.
Amazing.
Yeah, Reach is a very good video game, regardless of whether or not that's a Halo product or not. I think. I mean, I hope Infinite gets closer to that than it does to just regular ass Halo, because then maybe they've got my attention.
Reach is brilliant, and I love it, and I think that's a legitimately fantastic game. I think Halo 1 was fine for at the time.
Okay.
Was made by. Hold on a second. Oh no, that was still Bungie. I thought Reach for some reason was another studio, but I guess not.
No, Reach was Bungie's swan song, I think.
Yeah,
2010. That was the end, and
well, but 3
that was a good ending.
3 was before Reach, right? Because 2010. So I think you're right. I think Reach was the final game before they bailed and started working on Destiny, or had already started working. I don't know how that actually went, but.
I think there's some Destiny Easter eggs actually hidden in Reach.
Yeah, Reach is cool.
Well,
so
this new one's gonna be. They're gonna try and hit Apex Fortnite levels.
Well, and Bo's right. Like Bo is 100% right that they need to.
Like, it needs to be good.
Yeah.
With all the money they're pouring into it, maybe it will be. I don't know.
It could be. I mean,
is it 343 making it this time?
Yes, it's still 343 this time.
Oh, so it's definitely going to be a turd.
I don't know if that's guaranteed.
I don't know.
Review of 4?
4 is pretty bad, but 5 was better than 4. But it's, again, not back to the former glory. They're really talented folks at 343. I think there's huge pressure.
It's not an aspersion on the people working on it. Games are alchemy. You can put, what is it? I saw an expression today. You're pouring the gas all over the car, but none of it's going in the tank.
Well, and for all we know, 343 wanted to do something different with Halo, and the suits at Microsoft said, wait, you want to get bold and daring with Halo? No. Make it Master Chief, Covenant, fighting. Go.
Yeah.
They were like, but we want to do something different. He shouldn't even be fighting the Covenant anymore, narratively speaking. They were like, Master Chief, Covenant, go. Like, you can see a world where, like, a business guy is like, no, do what they did before. That made money. Don't do something different. Stop it.
Right. Yeah. Well, it'll be cool to see what they pull off. Hey, speaking of that other game you mentioned, Apex Legends added a limited time solo mode that adds anger to players, but also a bunch of people want to keep it. I kind of want them to keep it. I think I would go mess with that sometimes when I'm just not in the mood to get worked.
I don't know that it was the mode that added anger to players. Is that's what it was?
What did it make him? What was it? Loot boxes that pissed him off?
Loot box situation.
John, explain it. Why were they mad?
Okay, so there's two things. There's two parts to this: a happy part and a sad part. The happy part is there's a solo mode for Apex. If you ever said, "Hey, I don't have friends. I want to play Apex," there's now a mode for you. Congratulations, you can get in there. The only problem is it's limited. A lot of people are campaigning saying, hey, what if it was a permanent thing? It sounds like they're not necessarily opposed to it. Their own language was that they were testing the waters with the idea of a solo mode, so maybe they'll come back around to it. But the drama is around loot boxes. Unsurprisingly, but I will say this: when I first read about this story, I didn't want to include the loot box stuff because it feels like we've been talking about that forever. I mean, we talked about it back when we were just talking about Heroes of the Storm, but this does seem specifically kind of bad. So my understanding of how it works is that basically, because Apex Legends does not give you duplicate items, when they put out a limited run of items in loot boxes, there is a number of loot boxes you can obtain that guarantees you will get everything that has been released.
Right.
And that number is 24 loot boxes. So 2 is what you can earn in the game,
Okay.
which leaves 22 that you have to buy with money if you want all the items. I thought, okay, well, that's if you want all the items. What if you only want one of the items or two of the items? Here's where it gets tricky. They're still randomly generated items. So there's no guarantee you're going to get in box 1 that you purchased what you want. You might not get that until box 22, which with $7 a box is about 140, 150 somewhere in there dollars. If you have the worst
$7
possible
for a
run.
loot box. Are they?
Uh-huh.
How bad is their crack habit that they need that much income for their entire staff?
It's pretty bad.
It's $7 for a loot box.
Yep.
There's no one else out.
That's
No,
outrageous.
that's why I included it.
I'm
This seemed extremely bad to me. Like I said, I didn't want to
$7.
even talk about it, but I was like, wait a minute, really? Are you kidding me? This is incredibly expensive loot boxes. Then it has the RNG on top of it. So even if you were to say, you know what, I don't want everything, I just want something, you still have to pray to RNGesus to save you there. And it's just bad all around. And it's limited time, so they've got the added pressure on you of, well, do it now or it's gone.
Yeah.
You should be able to earn them all for free or buy a battle pass to
grind it.
I don't know. Yeah, that's. I think there's some. Maybe they hired somebody fresh out of school to make that or something.
I mean, the biggest feedback I heard
Seems
about
like a
the
flub.
solo mode was that people really liked it and wanted it to stay in the game. So I think the mode itself is great, but there's the progression bit that's, I guess, pissing people off.
Does it relate to the solo mode at all?
I mean,
only
I
earn
think
them.
I think it does. I think it has some connection to it. I haven't played it.
It's just
so-
the season. Like probably the season has the solo mode and these rich people loot boxes.
This is actually separate from the season. So they're on season 2, and this came in as a special event during the season.
Oh, like a brawl.
Yeah, they mean it to be temporary.
Okay, so it's unrelated.
But a lot like of these other games, Fortnite included, something is very popular and people like it. They will maybe from bringing it back occasionally to making it a permanent fixture is not that unheard of. So if enough people demanded it, I could see the solo mode being a thing, but not if it's tied to this loot box mess. I think that'll just keep pissing people off. Also, I still say loot boxes, they're not long for this world. I don't care who you are or how you set your game up. I just think there's going to be a clearinghouse over the next year or so where every game is going to go the route that Rocket League did and go a different way. Get rid of loot boxes altogether. Get rid of RNG. Go to something more like battle passes that are fair to consumers.
Make more Fortnite?
Sense. In Fortnite, I don't know. I don't think so.
You can
there's no.
You can buy cosmetics. There's probably limited run cosmetics, and then I know there's battle passes. I'm just wondering if they actually had a loot box system too.
They have the limited run store concept where each week it's different items. They have that sort of thing, but I don't think they have anything that's actually an RNG loot box to drop. I think it's all battle pass levels and whatever they put on sale in their store.
No, yeah, I'm finding an article here saying they put an end to random loot boxes. January 20 puts an end to random loot box purchases. So they've ended it. They had it before.
Did they?
Yeah. So
I mean, remember Epic they're the ones that bought. What the hell's it called? I just said the name. Rocket League. They just bought Rocket League. And then that's like the first order of business was getting rid of those things. So I have a feeling that anything Epic's making that's like a game as a service, which really are just those two games at this point, they don't want loot boxes. It appears. Yeah. It feels like that's them doing a top-down sort of change, and I am 100% for that.
They're a poisoned well at this point. It doesn't matter how good your intentions may be to put them in your game and say, oh, we want a fun mechanic that people will enjoy coming back. It's too late. The well has been poisoned. Too many games went up to that well and threw whatever they wanted into it, and now we don't get to have that anymore. So it's time to come up with new strategies and new ideas on how you're going to get money out of us. Because That one immediately is a red flag of they just want money. And that is not a signal that EA of all companies should be sending out, considering if you want to know who probably dumped the most poison in the well, it was them with their Star Wars game. So
yeah. I mean, the way I look at it, I immediately bristle if I hear about a new game coming that has loot boxes in it. It bugs me because then I'm like, I don't know, man. Really, you're going to start this way? Those that already have it, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, I look at that as sort of a legacy attachment, and I think they need to remove them. I think I don't know what those possibilities are in the case of Heroes, given what they are now, but like in Overwatch's case, if I were them, and maybe Overwatch 2 solves this and they don't have to think about it. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see what that is.
You can't buy loot boxes in Heroes. You can only buy them, I think, with gold now. Like, so it's basically a rewards program.
Right, and which would still be fine, but I think it's got a taint. I think I think the idea of RNG-based boxes and loot need to stop.
I'm with you there. They could do a battle pass system easily. I mean, they could take out the loot boxes and put a battle pass system. And they already had the beginnings of it for ranked with the way they're doing it now. So, but you can't buy them with money. So, if you're complaining about RNG for a free thing, you can spend money to just buy the exact thing you want, and you're good to go.
Yeah,
so.
and I in a heartbeat, whatever that looks like in Heroes, I'd pay for it. Like, that would be my new monthly freaking fee. I'd do it. So, Blizzard and your little scrappy team over there on Heroes of the Storm, you got my monthly 10, 15, whatever it is you need. Just do it. Whatever the seasons are. Aren't they monthly seasons? I don't know how they work everywhere else.
They have the Stim Pack right now, which I do. I've always had one active, I think, for the most part.
Yeah.
But it just gives you extra gold, which basically gives you extra rewards because you open more loot boxes, depending on how much you play. It's not worth it if you don't play that much, though.
Yeah, not really. All right, well, there's that. Apex, still a thing. I still have some friends who play constantly and still love that game. And, I think it's
a good game.
I think it's doing fine.
Like business around it needs to improve a little bit.
Yeah, they're doing fine, though. There's a rumor floating around that Diablo... this isn't a rumor. They actually did a blog post saying what they intend to do for content moving forward, what the current season structure is like for them, and what they plan on doing. And to me, the whole thing smells of preparing everybody for a brand new game that you will now all focus on, and we will just be in sort of quiet little rotate mode over here.
But see, the funny thing is I actually took this the opposite way. Not right. That they aren't working on Diablo 4. I think that's still true. But as soon as you read a blog post about any Blizzard game that isn't called Overwatch, that basically reads ongoing content and seasons, it's like, okay, let me clench my stomach and get ready to read about how this game's now going to be a legacy game and not supported anymore. Mm-hmm. But then I read it, and it's like, we're going to be adding this, we're going to be doing this, we're going to make sure we put in new sets, we want new items and armors in there, we want to make sure new items are going in the season, we want to make sure this is new. Like, they're going to add a bunch of stuff to Diablo 3. It's not going to be a giant overhaul, it's not going to set the world on fire, it's not going to be an expansion, but in a world where I kind of thought this is them putting a bow on things for Diablo 3, it turned out to have a lot more, we're going to keep supporting it and putting stuff in. Here's what we're working on. And that was pleasantly surprising to see.
I guess it is more than just, I don't want to diminish it by saying, oh, well, now they're just in sort of let's rotate content mode while our big new baby brother enters the stage and everyone only cares about Diablo 4. So I guess that is better than that. It still seems to me like a way for them to settle into expectations, so that when that does happen, there are still good reasons to play Diablo 3 if that's your jam, and you don't want to play whatever the new thing is. There were certainly Diablo 2 people like that, and still are, and they still patch that damn thing all these years later. So yeah, I think we can both actually be right here. I think this is them establishing a new course of action, and it turns out the stuff they're going to do is pretty good. Like they're not just letting it lie. They're like, well, we're gonna, we figured out a way internally to make this work and have new content. And like you said, no new expansion, nobody's gonna get blown away. But Diablo 3 still becomes a viable product that you paid for, that you still play, and that you can go back and return to anytime you want. And that makes me happy. Kind of want to play it right now. Is that weird? Just talking about Diablo.
Still wish they were putting the druid in the game.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah. There were little bits and pieces in there, man. There's all sorts of hints at it.
I mean, there definitely was a class being worked on for the second expansion, probably the Necromancer.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah. And do you think if the Necro? My understanding from talking to a few people that might know and might not know, and so it's the super incidental evidence, if it's any at all, that sold pretty well for them. So I thought that meant, we'll maybe get a $15 character pack every once in a while. And then that just dried up. Nothing happened. So,
they're probably not used to the kind of pace that a team like Heroes does. They're like, we got to make 12 heroes. Let's get moving. Maybe it's more involving for their culture on that team. I don't know.
Right.
Plus, if they're at the point where they are axing as many employees as they did in the name of ramping up development for Diablo 4, I'm sure there is internal pressure to don't work on Diablo 3, stop it. I'm sure every time someone reaches to launch Diablo 3, someone just slaps them and says stop. Just right. Diablo 4 right now. No, don't look at Diablo 3.
Yeah.
Well, I think they work on different teams, right?
Well, do they? I don't know.
I mean, like, that's the thing. Is which team is working on Diablo?
I think there are teams for classic games that support all the classic games. Then there's the teams that work on the new projects. I assume that would make the most sense to me.
Is 3 on classic then?
It isn't like Joe doesn't come in and be like, I'm gonna work on Diablo 3 today, guys. I know we have a deadline for that art for Diablo 4, but screw it. I'm gonna do some Diablo 3 stuff. They're like, I gotta see you in my office right now. You're on the Diablo 4 team, and you'll be working on Diablo 4 art assets.
I mean, that's a good point, but I think also to what Scott said, I guess I don't know that Diablo 3 has been relegated to classic status and just has a classic support team. And that's
if Heroes is a classic game, Diablo 3 is a classic game for sure.
Really?
I don't know. I would. Yeah. I see the logic behind what you're saying, Bo, and it makes sense.
See, okay.
But I'm also I don't have that level of faith that something that obvious is true.
Do you have a classic rock radio station?
Yeah.
I don't know.
K-Bear 101, we call it here.
Yeah. And we have one here. Yeah. Shay 106 or something like that here. And, for a while, we liked listening to classic rock because it was the old tunes of my parents and their generation and things like that. And then one day, Nirvana was on. I was like, wait, what? That's not allowed. That's my teenager music. That's not classic, but they play Nirvana. It's classic rock. And so anything that bands that existed before Nirvana, they're eligible for classic rock too.
Well, that's true, but
you're Heroes and you're in the classic rock radio station. The older games also go in the classic. It's not me that set the classic.
WoW is an older game than Heroes, and it doesn't have a classic.
It's a classic game too. Good lord.
WoW Classic isn't being worked on by the classic team.
World of Warcraft 2 is like overdue by now. Let me just make loud and clear. They're milking that thing for all it's worth.
Well, let me diverge here a little bit. I don't think the music comparison is exactly a good one, although I do
Final
take
Fantasy
your point.
has another MMO,
Yeah, but here
look, they were like, let's keep expanding this one. They were like, let's release a new one.
I like that you're eating the microphone now. I like that.
No.
But it's Blizzard. We're a small company, unlike Square Enix.
So let me make this distinction. The only reason we have this joke or this slight irritation going around that Heroes is now in classic mode is because of that job listing where it was lumped in with some of these other games. Ironically, in that case, Diablo 3 was not listed in that list, but for some reason Heroes was, which seemed ridiculous to me because I kind of take your point. It's, if you're going to have classic, make it the old games, not the new games. I think this is the rule.
The word means something.
No, I agree, but here's the rule. I think the rule should be, if the game is available as a tab on your launcher, It is not a classic game in the sense that it's some back room with 3 dudes making sure the server's running. Because I think that's what we think about it. I think we think of it as it's old. Classic means old.
I have Starcraft 1 as a clickable icon. Is that not remastered, not a classic game?
You have Remastered, which is a old game made new with a whole bunch of facelifts and stuff.
Look, this isn't me deciding what's a classic game or not. It's Blizzard. The word classic has a meaning in the English language.
Yeah.
And it refers to things. Well, let me look up the definition. Let's get this.
Some people say instant classic.
I understand why Bo feels adamant about this, but he's speaking as if it's a fact, and I don't believe that he knows. That's where the breakdown is.
I'm looking for the word classic here. Okay. So maybe radio stations use it wrong when they refer to classic rock.
Well,
it's like Bo telling me what the weather is outside. He'll probably get it right.
What's instant
He's
classic?
Probably right, but I don't think that he knows.
Bo, define for me an instant classic. When people say that, what do they mean? Like if you
instant classic?
Yeah.
They don't know how English works. It's an instant classic. How do you know that it's permeated the culture in such a way that we won't forget about it in 5 years?
Yeah.
You don't know because these things are judged over time.
Right, but it's also very subjective, right? Like it's not an absolute that something's a classic across the board. It's just enough people say it is, and so therefore it is. In the Blizzard context, it's an actual classification of a product. It's like a shelf.
It's possible that they're using the word classic as a marketing term to mean old game, but it's corporate speak for old game because classic. The semantics of classic makes everyone think like, oh, very nice. Like the definitions of classic are here, judged over a period of time to be of the highest quality and outstanding of its kind. The second one is remarkably and instructively typical, as in Hamlet is a classic example of a tragedy.
Oh, right.
I don't think that's quite where we go for when we talk about classic rock, but maybe we do. In rock music, what are the classics of rock? What are the things that are typical of rock? We think like TNT. Dynamite, TNT, or Thunderstruck.
Why are we talking about the actual definition of classic? We are talking about a team, a specific team in Blizzard, not the definition of the word. A team, and who is on that team and what games they work on.
So WoW is a classic game.
No, it isn't. the WoW team works on WoW.
Remarkably and instructively typical. What's a classic of the MMO genre?
I'm not talking about the definition of the word classic, Bo.
Well, in that case,
by the Blizzard's definition, it's not a classic.
Right.
So Final Fantasy is clearly the better, superior product. Like they're using the word classic wrong, aren't they?
The Diablo 4 is probably coming out soon.
It's just all they're saying is I think John is right in that it is a Blizzard's using it as a team descriptor. It's not about whether the things whether something's classic or not, and whether lots and lots of people think it is not really part of the thing. Like I was saying the other day, I don't like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It's my least favorite Beatles album, and while I got some agreements, I got a lot of people said, "Oh, I totally disagree. It's the best thing they ever did." Or there was a whole bunch of people that said, I don't understand why the Beatles are popular at all. That's my controversial opinion. I think the Beatles suck. And so that's always going to be subjective and weird. And you can say if it's cultural impact makes it classic, well, then the Beatles are a classic for sure, 100% across the board. But if it means they're indicative of greatness or whatever, you're going to have some people that that are going to disagree. In Blizzard's case, it's actually very black and white. They have a team. They call it classic. They could have called it old school. They could have called it, I don't know what, any other name. But classic was a good fit because this means they work on the older stuff and make it new again, or they keep it up, or they put it out as new, like Warcraft 3 coming out again with all of its changes. Like that is essentially the same game, just with brand new pants on. In a lot of ways, Starcraft 1 is like that. So I guess all I'm saying is when they came out and said Heroes of the Storm is in the classic category in that job listing, I was annoyed because I don't think it's old enough to be called one by Bo's definition. And also, I don't think the team, which has been black and white named the Classics division, should have anything to do with a game that is still living and breathing and happening every day in the way that Heroes is. So I actually don't like either category applied to Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm does not deserve either treatment. And one day I will think of Heroes as a classic for me because I love that game and it's one of my favorite Blizzard games ever made. And I will always feel that way. So in 10 years, that game's a classic. In 20 years, that game's a classic. But right now, it's not by your definition, and I don't think it should be by the team's definition either. It should be its own team doing its own thing.
Yeah, there's a number of uses, and in Wikipedia, there's one relevant use that makes the way that Blizzard uses it correct. It's very short. In commerce, products are named classic to denote a long-standing popular version or model to distinguish it from a newer variety. And in many of those cases, classic makes sense. There's a new Starcraft, so Starcraft 1 can be classic. Diablo 2 and Diablo 1 can be classic because there's a Diablo 3. But Heroes can't be classic because there isn't a newer variety.
I am going to stab myself with a pen.
Well, I like talking about language and learning how it works. I'm sorry that you don't.
And to those of you who have followed along with where my point lie in all of this, please don't stab yourselves, but thank you for joining me on this.
I think that,
I lost the thread. Why is what am I bringing up a problem?
It's not. I disagree with John because I don't think it's a problem at all. Like trying to figure out why this language applies on both sides, but it means something totally different. That's a totally valid.
I'm just trying to figure out if my criticism is right or wrong because I could very much be wrong, and I think maybe they are using classic in the right term, and that's where we're. I
don't think of Diablo 3 as a classic game again in either definition. It's kind of the problem I have with the Heroes side, but maybe less so because it is older. But if we're just talking about age, 2012 is not that old for a game that's made by Blizzard that stands the test of time, and so calling it classic just sort of annoys me. But a game that I would have played in the 90s. Warcraft 2, for example, if they bring that back, that's 100% a classic move. Like, that's just a classic video game. And it's easy for me to define it as such. I don't think Diablo 3's reached that yet. Diablo 2 has. Diablo 1
I think it has. Because I think it has internally. Like, we know that because of the Jason Schreier article that they're working on Diablo 4.
Right.
So, publicly, we don't consider it that way. But internally, that game got axed on the launch of Reapers. It became classic the moment Reaper of Souls came out because they were working on a new Diablo or on some level and killing that one.
Yeah.
So it is a classic game.
At some point it's semantics, but you're not wrong. Like internally, and that's what bugs me about it, is I feel like it's a bit of it's like a dead man walking kind of feeling that word gives me when Blizzard says it, because it feels like they're pushing it out of the limelight and shoving it in the back room, and I don't like that. But I like the idea that Diablo 4 is coming along and the Diablo 3 is not going to get left in the lurch and that players will still have stuff to do, me included. So it's kind of a weird, and I know they know this and they've crafted it as such, but it's kind of a win-win. It's okay. It's all right for Diablo to enter its, for 3 to enter its new little space and let 4 in. That's what we all want, right? We all have phones. Just kidding. You all have phones, right? You guys have phones? Check it out. I got a phone.
I do, but I don't have a cell phone plan.
Oh. What do you do? How do you do cell phone stuff? You just do Wi-Fi?
I don't have a cell phone. Well, I have a pay and talk that I put like $10 on every couple months.
That's it?
But I don't really have a phone number. I basically live without a phone.
That's kind of rad. I want to do that. How do you do that?
Just don't have a phone.
Don't have a phone.
Don't have a phone. It's the internet. Like, if people want to get a hold of me, I'm like, you can message me on iMessage. Like, I have a broken iPhone.
Yeah.
That, it's a hand me down. I can get messages on iMessage.
Yeah.
And I got another hand me down. It's a Android phone, and you can message me on all the various text messaging apps or call me on Discord or whatever. I don't do phones.
I don't
do phone numbers.
I feel like that's a. Why am I still doing
they're good for 911, but like if you like paying $80 just in case you might need 911, that's kind of crazy too.
That's a really interesting point. I guess if I'm in a car or something, I won't have access.
I don't have wireless data, but I'm like, I don't need internet that bad that I need it with me every second of the day. But that's just me.
I don't know.
Are you
you're preaching
debating a phoneless lifestyle, Scott?
A little.
Is that what this is?
I mean, I remember having this argument years ago when I went from a when I dived into a landlineless lifestyle and dumped everything but cell phones. To me, that felt like a big deal at the time. Now it's nothing. Like, who cares? No one has a phone line at
What
home.
if the cell tower goes out? You won't be able to call 911.
Right. But
you have to have a landline just in case.
I just love this idea of not paying. I don't know what I pay. I have a family plan, but I just wish we didn't have it.
I mean, we all pay. I pay the ISP money, so it's
I'm curious about this, Scott, because I wouldn't go without a phone. And between me and you, I probably use my phone less because I use it as a phone for texting and for messaging exclusively. You throw at least gaming and apps on top of that.
Yeah.
Are you saying get rid of it as a phone, or are you saying get rid of the device altogether?
No, I'm saying as a phone that requires 3G up to LTE connecting all the time anywhere I'm at. I'm saying all the functionality, like I'm in front of Wi-Fi. I'm in Wi-Fi 90% of my day. I could probably get away with this.
I could do that.
I don't think my kids could.
Most phone calls.
I don't either. If it's my kids or my wife, I answer them. If it's not, I'd let it go to voicemail. I don't care who it is. I don't know.
It has its moments where it would be convenient just to have Google Maps. Basically, I'm like, where am I?
Yeah.
I'd like a map. But, like one time I was going to my sister's house. She just moved, and I got lost. It was the middle of winter. It was snowing out. But I just walked over to the Burger King, and they had Wi-Fi. I just stood outside. I'm like, connected, and got the map. So I'm like, yeah. Well, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. That's
I
interesting.
found it. So, anyways, there's that. But to bring it all back to whatever it was we were talking about, I have an opinion.
I have a way to do this, actually, real quick. Here's a random Diablo fact. I don't know when they added it, but I looted a small child as a pet in Diablo 3.
What? Shut up. Is that
I'm dead serious. It's a little kid that follows me around and picks up gold when things die.
Oh, what? Hold on. Diablo 3 little kid pet. Complete list of pets and their locations. Okay. Now I'm gonna play because I gotta get that. Are you kidding?
This kid. He's got like a wooden sword and he just follows me around.
Okay, so there's Blaze. It's basically a raging fire skull. Buddy the Bumble. Charlotte, Friendly Gauntlet. I'm trying to find it here. Haunting Hannah.
I wondered if it had something to do with like Legend of Zelda. I think his name has something similar to Link in it. Maybe?
Oh, here it is. Lamb. This is a non-comp pet. Is cute as a mutton and also a human child. Whose child is this? Where are his parents? Damn it, dude.
A demon just dropped a human child to follow me around everywhere I go.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, there are a lot more pets than I thought.
Yeah.
Holy shite. Some of them you can't
get.
They
basically added a treasure goblin that does nothing but drop pets.
Okay. Look what you're doing to me now. I'll have to get in there, see what's going on. Diablo 4, it's on its way. Looking forward to it. Time for some small talk. That is to say what we're playing. I am playing Rebel Galaxy Outlaw a lot, and I love it. I really like it. John just got it, so I'm going to defer to him on his impressions because I've already given mine. But I'm still playing that game, and I really, really like it. And for whatever reason, because both that and the big update to No Man's Sky came out the same day, I also have been playing No Man's Sky. And I've come to two conclusions. One, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is all about adventure time. And I don't mean the cartoon. I mean, like, going to space, kill the dude, intriguing story going on, cool music in the background. Like, more of the adventure of space is happening with Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, and it's happening real well over there. And No Man's Sky is all about exploration for me. It always has been. So No Man's Sky is about, I'll give you an example. If you go system to system in Rebel Galaxy, it's kind of not that different. You go to the new system, and there's a station, and you get some stuff, and you go do some things. I mean, it's not like visually or aesthetically everything changes on you. In No Man's Sky, you can freaking warp halfway across the universe and come out, and everything's different. The color of the freaking gas cloud everything is in is different. The planets are all different. Everything is all this crazy procedural insanity. Every planet's different. So it really lends itself well to exploration. And with this latest update, even more so, I think that game's really great right now. However, I will say this, and this is just the thing I've come to, and judge me if you want to. I'm fine. I can take it. I don't mind the judgment. I have less shits to give about judgment these days, so here it is. I'm about to spill the beans. I think that No Man's Sky creative mode is really the only mode for me. Now, there are going to be people that go, wait a minute, where's the challenge? I get it. I understand that there's a whole survival thing and get enough parts to build a thing, and then cool, now you can build the next thing, and I get it. But I don't really like those kinds of games, and it's the least fun part of the game for me. What I like is get in my ship, go find a thing, get missions at the mission desk from some alien idiot, and go out and do those and come back and get a crap ton of money for it. That's what I like. And so I got this big green hauler-looking ship, and I just am doing missions, and I'm following the story. You can still do all that and doing all the exploration and the discovery stuff. You just don't have to worry about, oh, I'm out of carbon. Well, shit, let's go to planet B489 and dig up some carbon for the 5 millionth time. I don't have to do that stuff anymore. I know this is just me. I'm not saying anyone else should predicate their play in No Man's Sky based on what I'm saying, but I think creative mode is the mode for me in that game. That being said, we'll get to more of this in a second with John, and we can argue some of these points if you want. But then Warhammer 40K Prophecy, or Warhammer 40K Inquisitor Prophecy, their names are too big, these games. That's the other game I've been playing a ton of. All my time has been in space in all my video gaming lately, and that's fine with me because that's where I want to be. And that game is great. I think that game's really good. I know it's still got mixed reviews on Steam. I wouldn't let those hold you back. If you read a lot of them, it's a lot of people complaining about the fact that the first game had issues and they lost faith in the developer, and so they play it for 10 minutes and then return it and then do a review. Like, that kind of stuff is happening. It's really unfortunate because I think those guys have fixed a ton of stuff. It's made me want to go play more of the original game again, tightened up everything. It feels a lot like Loot 2.0 when Diablo did that, and how that kind of turned that game around. It feels maybe not quite as impactful, but closer to that for me, and I really dig it. So that's my opinion on that. John, what have you been playing?
All right, I'll go through the really, really quick ones first. I've tried to pop into Pillars of Eternity 2. Game seems cool. I'm still very new with D&D, and I'm trying to learn a lot about D&D and trying to learn another RPG rules and mechanics on top of that. Was not working, and I bounced off of it, and I'm not going to play that game.
Oh, that sucks. That game's great. You should play it. All right.
Doesn't it handle all the rules for you in a video game?
Yeah.
It kinda does, but just like I started to fall down that rabbit hole of I'm looking at my abilities, and it's like, this does staggering and this, and I was like going over things, learning definitions, and I was just like, man, you know what? I'm trying to learn one game right now, and this is just gonna throw me off. And
they do have involving mechanics when you got, like, in Divinity, when how armor works. I get it.
You're right.
There's only so much brain space at a given time that it might not be a good time.
You're right.
Like, it has made me very excited for the new Baldur's Gate, which is going to use fifth edition rules, and that'll be a nice little keeping my brain at least on the right track. And I think there is a great game in there for sure. I'm not trying to. This is purely a me thing that caused me to bounce off of it. Also a purely me thing that caused me to bounce off a game because I couldn't wait for Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. I started playing Rebel Galaxy, and I played it for about 3 minutes, and then I uninstalled it angrily.
Really? Why? What?
So I get in the game and I go through the whole thing, and I got go do a mission, and I go off and I go into space, and it pulls me out of space because there's an enemy ship nearby, and I go, all right, let's get into this combat, and I get annihilated.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this freaking game. I closed it and I did something else for a while.
Yeah.
So I got back in. I was like, okay, I'll try it again. Okay, I'm going on this mission for this guy. Off I go. Get pulled out of space again by the same raider. Here he comes. I start fighting him, and then I notice that it's saying like, oh, this guy's way too strong for you. You shouldn't fight him. And I thought, then why did you put him here in the first mission of the game? Why did you put an enemy that can just blow me up in seconds? So off I go, and I run from him, and I go and I continue the mission. And then it was like, hey, we detected something out here. You should go check it out. And I was like, I should. That seems like
Distress
the right
call,
thing.
right? Another
So,
distress call or
so
something?
I go check it out, and I come out of space, and like mines all fly at my ship, and I blew up. And I was like, this game freaking sucks. And I just turned it off and uninstalled it at that point.
Yeah.
I did not like the learning curve that it was throwing at me, especially because I knew I was going to be playing the sequel slash prequel in just a couple days. So I turned it off.
Are you looking forward to quitting that one too?
Well, let's talk about Rebel Galaxy Outlaw.
All right, go.
Oh, so you did play it?
I think there's a good game in there for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
But that game does not care that I haven't played one of these in a long time. That game doesn't care if I know how to play one of these games. That game doesn't care if I'm having a good time and it runs in and throws sand in my face. That game doesn't care. And it really caused me to kind of bounce off of it hard when the No Man's Sky update came out.
Interesting.
I like a lot about that game. There's a ton of very cool stuff, and I want to get back into it. And a part of it is definitely like awakening the, Free Space 2 TIE Fighter fan that exists years and years and years ago. Because like I forgot about, you don't hold a button to throttle, you set like a throttle level and the ship speeds up to that, which feels very clunky, but that's how those games play. Like the targeting, cycling through targets on your computer. So like I was getting in these dog fights and I could never target the things I wanted to target. And I just, there were so many things, and the game gives you no tutorial for any of this. Like the first thing I did when I got in my ship was shoot missiles out into the vastness of space, because it didn't even tell you, here's how you speed up. It just, nope, you're in your ship, go.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
they don't.
What
there's not a lot of
what
onboarding.
Buttons do anything?
Yeah, there's not a lot of onboarding. Some of it carries forward from the first game. I mean,
no,
not really. No. I mean, there's stuff on screen. There's screen prompts and stuff. Like, get
this. This is the first mission they give you.
Yeah.
They don't tell you how to fly your ship. They don't tell you what to do. Ooga booga googa booga guy comes out, except now he speaks English for some reason, and he tells you to go out and first he tells you to go talk to another guy. That guy sends you out, and he just goes, look, you're just going to fly up. You're going to get a code. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
You go there, and there's 4 capital ships that all just open fire on you, and if you don't turn tail and just start running, you get blown up in seconds. So then you have to basically dodge fire from these ships for a while. Then they start throwing raiders at you to come fly and shoot you down. Then they tell you, okay, hightail it, but you still have to fight the raiders while dodging the cannon fire. And they never tell you how to fly the ship. This is literally the first mission in the game.
Yeah.
I was like, what are they doing?
The first story of the mission of the game, I'm trying to remember how, I didn't die in it or have any trouble with it, but I don't know why that was. Part of the problem might be that game is about procedural open world, so there's stuff happening around the universe that's not going to happen for me. It may happen for you, but won't happen for me, or it may happen later in the game for me and much earlier for you. Like there's a lot of that stuff, and it's possible too to end up going to a place that's supposed to be kind of balanced for your level, and then just happens to be the moment that a huge bunch of capital ships are floating around that hate me. There is definitely that. I still say the game's got some misbalance happening at lower ship levels. I think that they want you to go do some story stuff that you just can't do yet, and you feel barred from it, gated from it, because it's too hard, and you have to go grind out missions to upgrade your shields to get a better ship. I finally got my $100,000 ship or credit ship, and it's better, but I still am at a place in the story where I can't progress because the guys are whooping my butt. So I think I agree with you that the onboarding's rough. They don't give you a lot to go on, and even if you remember basic control stuff like tap A for the different levels of normal cruising speed, or click and hold A for auto jumping or whatever it's called. I forget what it's called. Autopilot. I mean, a lot of those things are carryovers, but they don't tell you, and it's a different interface. So I also found that game to be much better in third-person mode. So I get out of the cockpit always. I'm always out of the cockpit, and I think it's better that way. But you're right. None of that stuff is super spelled out, and I could see how that would rub some people wrong for sure.
It did bum me out that I didn't like the in-cockpit as much as I had hoped, because I bought a little hula man for my ship.
Yeah.
And I bought a postcard because coincidentally my hometown is literally one of the postcards that you can put up there. So I was like, well, this is pretty nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
The image in no way represents my hometown at all, but it's got the name on there. So that's exciting.
Sure.
And I thought it was cool. And I think there is cool stuff in there. I think there's definitely like something that needs to be flipped on my brain as far as like remembering how these games are played, remembering how to do them, and going through the motions. It's going to take time, but I think there's definitely a cool game in there. I don't love the voice acting. Mostly it's the main girl. I don't like her voice.
Yeah, you become pretty aware right away that the game is a 5-man team. Like there's a lot of it that is really impressive for being a 5-man team, like kind of mind-blowingly good for 5 men or 5 people. But then you'll hit some like polished stuff where you're like, yeah, the VO is a little rough and the responses from the aliens are rough. And I mean, that's true. I can't deny that.
She looks like she's about 20 years old and she sounds like she's about 85.
Right.
So that kept throwing me. I kept finding myself just reading the text and trying to ignore the voice work to go along with it. But I mean, I love the style of the game. I love the look. I love the tone. It definitely plays like those old games, even if I'm not used to it. And I'm really looking forward to getting into it. I don't have like buyer's remorse or anything like that. It just is going to require an investment more than I expected to have to put in.
Yeah.
I kind of expected an easy on-ramp to get back into this type of game, which we just haven't seen in a long time. And instead it was just like throw into the deep end, and I struggled with it in a big way.
Yeah. I think that's a fair way to look at it. I still think the thing is awesome, but for the reasons I really like it are more general, and I think there are specifics that could use work for sure. But I think it's something. Bo, you've been spending all your time in Starcraft 2, a classic game.
Classic game. Yeah, there should be a new RTS on the docket.
There should be. Well,
the only reason, so according to the commerce definition, there'd have to be one being made ahead of it.
Oh.
Which now the naming of WoW Classic makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, this is good.
They're positioning it as the classic alternative to the current gen World of Warcraft.
So you're playing like straight up StarCraft 2 right now, though.
I played a lot of co-op commanders. John, you'll appreciate this. I got Tychus up to max level. I got Artanis up to max level.
Yes.
Alarak, Vorazun. I mostly play Protoss, so all the TOS are up. I'm gonna buy Stetman next, I think. But
the way to go.
Zeratul is actually super OP. He's a new one. I've been playing a ton of co-op, leveling up the commanders, and I've been playing on Brutal now as like pretty easy mode. All the good players play Brutal. I haven't had too many bad experiences, except one guy who didn't make any units because he sucked. But I mean, you have to make some units. I reported him for non-participation. So, because it sucks to queue up for a game, and they're just like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
But the game mode's fun, and I've been playing so much. And the other thing I've been doing a lot of, which is not playing the game, but I've been watching a ton. If I'm not playing StarCraft 2, I'm watching StarCraft 2 eSports. I never actually watched the last year's BlizzCon final, so I watched Cyril versus the other guy. I can't remember his name. Was it Hero? I don't remember.
Do you?
But but I've been watching lots of StarCraft. I mean, even the most recent WCS, I think Cyril, who's this from a European country, was beat by another kid from a European country at 17. GG Rayner, who plays Zerg. Dude, don't call yourself Rayner and play Zerg, okay? But anyways,
maybe he's saying GG2 Rayner.
It's confusing for an old person like me.
Yeah.
But I've been addicted to watching StarCraft 2 esports, StarCraft 2 podcasts, StarCraft 2 content creators. I'm just 24/7 playing and watching StarCraft content all week. I'm flirting with the idea of playing competitive.
Mm-hmm.
I went into versus AI, and they've actually updated that so that rather than pick your difficulty level, it does matchmaking based on your difficulty.
Mm.
So you start it very easy, and then it cranks up the difficulty just like you'd think MMR does, but it does it on a very quick scale.
Yeah.
Speed, I mean. So I'm already at harder AI. I think there's 3 more tiers to go, and I'm right now. I'm at the point where I'm like, am I really going to play competitive? This means I have studying to do. So I'll need to research build orders. I'll need to figure out how to properly APM in terms of doing control groups and stuff like that. I won't have a high APM. I don't know. I probably won't get very high, but I do. When they go to the player cams, which they did this year at BlizzCon to show what they were doing, their screens were like bippity bappity boopity bappity all over the place. It was crazy, and I'm like, man, that's actual impressive gaming. And the reason for my interest in StarCraft 2 is like we did a show about heroes.
Mm-hmm.
We like competitive esports, but all these esports are kind of nothing. Like all these esports are kind of nothing compared to StarCraft 2. Like it doesn't matter how popular StarCraft 2 is. It is literally the most challenging game out of any competitive game, period, to play. Like if you're bragging that you're a Fortnite pro or you're a Heroes or League of Legends pro, like it's good. You've worked on something hard and built something, but you still like a tier down from the StarCraft people who reach the very tip top of what you can do in StarCraft in terms of impressing the common man with your technical feats.
I think that's true because there's the two aspects that StarCraft 2 nails, which is not just Twitch gaming. And by Twitch, I mean reflexes. There's definitely that in StarCraft 2. Everyone always talks APM and all that stuff. That's where you get that from. So that's definitely there, but it's the freaking mind F that is StarCraft 2 that is the hard bit. And if you can master both those things, I mean, it's hugely impressive.
There's the technical skill, but there's also a chess element to it, right? Because I've been watching, I've still been watching my chess videos. I'm interested in chess. I listen to a chess podcast. And they call StarCraft 4D chess, and I'm like, oh, it so is. There's strategy,
Mm-hmm.
and like you can get caught up in like, oh, you just have to be fast side, but you also have to. There's a whole bunch of layers to the strategy and stuff. And I'm just kind of really fascinated with it. I think at this point, so
that's awesome.
You still have done 0 co-op commanders.
Yeah,
right?
I still haven't even touched that. That's what's funny is even when here's what usually happens when friends of mine start going hard into a game. Like you guys are talking about StarCraft 2 lately. Normally that drives me to want to play it. For some reason, the last thing I want to play right now is an RTS, and I couldn't tell you why. Of any kind. I don't want anything to do with real-time strategy. It puts me off. And I want lots of turn-based stuff. I don't know if that's a game
those are technically
thing.
Strategy games too.
Oh, they're totally
Hearthstone
strategy.
and Magic are technically strategy games as well.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm talking the RT part. The real-time part used to be.
You don't want to do the real-time part.
Back in the day, I mean, I'm the complete opposite in the 90s. In the 90s, I didn't want anything that was turn-based. I wanted this new idea of real-time strategy. That's all I wanted. Give me StarCraft. Give me freaking, what was the other one? Command and Conquer. Give me Dune 2. Yeah. Give me real-time RTS, man. I was all about it. And to me, it was like, move over, old guys. Freaking turn-based is a thing of the past. Go play chess in the park if you want turn-based strategy. We're moving on. Like, that was my attitude. And I've had a complete flip now. I want just turn-based stuff now. I don't know why. If it's a strategy game, I want turn-based.
I'm actually in the same boat as you, but co-op commanders gets a pass from me because it's not that it becomes turn-based in any way, shape, or form. But the nice thing is that let's say I want to tech up for a late game tech.
Right.
Having that partner there allows you to say, hey man, I'm really going for this late game tech thing and I just kind of want to focus on that and I don't want to worry about the other stuff. Can you watch the objectives for the first couple minutes of this match while I just zone in and do my own thing, no pressure? And, Bo and I used to play Artanis and Kerrigan, and he would just make a ton of Zerg units and go, yeah, I got it for a while. And he'd just go and he'd control the map, and I'd just work on building economy and putting things where I want to, and then no pressure or anything. And then at a certain point, it's like, okay, you know what? Now I'm ready to get in there and join the fray, and then I can do that, and he can take a break. And like, there's something about the co-op nature of how you can work together with that and kind of pass that baton of, you know what, just you take the objectives for now, or can you help with this, like that
Or
really
it's the
slows it
train
down to a
maps
pace
where there's
I
two
like.
trains you got to blow up. So like, I'll take this train track, you take that train track, and we reinforce to help each other. Also, the speed of the game is not competitive speed; it's pretty slow.
Oh,
Yeah.
good, because that's the
Except
thing I don't
on
like.
brutal, the unit speed's higher, but you don't have to play. You can just start on easy, and it's a super casual experience. So
The other thing that I think is cool that you would probably like from it, aside from the humor, it's also a very funny mode. But the thing that I think you would enjoy, Scott, is as you level these commanders up, it kind of works the same way Diablo's legendary items do, where what you're unlocking is ways to break Starcraft, essentially. So like getting Artanis to his highest level of unlocks basically makes it to where you start with max population available to you. You don't have to build pylons to get more units. You can create as many units right out of the gate that you want.
you mean supply?
Yeah, supply. Basically, the pylons are there just to power your buildings. That's all you need them for. So all the part of the game where you would go around and, I got to build another pylon and another pylon and
You have not enough pylons, is what
that's
they say.
not a factor anymore. Like, you're not going to hear that. It's just a case of power. And so that's the thing, is you unlock new units and new stuff like that, but you also basically unlock ways to break the game.
Yeah. Also, can I tell you about the Tychus hero?
Yeah.
Because I've been playing Tychus. So if you don't like controlling an army, you basically just control a whole Heroes of the Storm team. So you have 5 units the whole game. It's Tychus and his 4 of his outlaw buddies, and that's all you have.
Really?
And then when you F2 to highlight them all and control them as a group, Q, W, E, R, and T are each one of your heroes' abilities, and that's it. It's like playing Lost Vikings, where you don't split off the Vikings. You just keep them grouped up and press the button.
That's hilarious.
It's literally the easiest commander in the world to play. The only thing you got to do is make your SCVs in the beginning and get your economy going, which is easy because not much happens in the beginning of the match.
Right.
And then you have a Heroes of the Storm team.
That's crazy. So wait, let me ask you this. When you're playing, is it always PvP? You're always playing against somebody else? So 2v2?
It's co-op. It's so you're always playing versus computer. Like it's a mission. It's like a dungeon in World of Warcraft.
Interesting.
But it's a Starcraft map.
All right. In my head, I thought it was always like a 2-on-2 thing. So, all right.
No. It's not versus anybody. It's versus AI. Like basic, but it's like you know what it's like. It's like, remember the brawls and Heroes where you're playing against the computer, like they made missions.
Yeah.
It's literally that, except you have to make SCVs and get your economy going.
There's more to it, obviously. So
you build your buildings, but yeah.
Do you? These can't be played solo, or can they? Can they be played solo, or do you have to?
Well, when you queue, if you're queue solo, you'll find a partner.
Oh, okay. So it's always a human partner, right? That's the way it works.
It's always a human partner, but if they leave, you can just control their stuff too.
Oh, all right.
There's been times they've left, and I'm like, oh, it's probably just better if it's me working on all this stuff. So I don't know why, but I get real bitter when people are just really bad at StarCraft. They dare to go to brutation, or not brutation, but brutal level, and then they really just not that good.
And they suck. Yeah.
You need to. You need to turn down the difficulty before you get to brutal level.
Yeah. Like,
one of the big thing for hard is that you have to build detectors so enemies can be stealth. So you build detector units.
Yeah.
It's literally all you kind of need to do. And like, people don't do it. And they're like, oh, their whole army gets killed because of friggin' Dark Templars are ripping up their lines and they don't have any reveal.
So, yeah, you got to do reveal.
But if you hang with me, Scott, I can probably like show you the ropes, and it'd be super easy.
Yeah,
they have a ton of commanders too, like, and they all play very. I mean, some are similar, but they all play pretty different. Like, I don't know how much you've played of Stukov, but he basically is mostly he controls enemies sort of deal. Like, he's infected.
You get infested units. His stuff is a little weird. I haven't played it, but I know you get infested units, and a lot of them have timed life. He seems like he's a more advanced one, but I'm not 100%.
Is he really depressed and sad and wishes that he wasn't actually coming back or all that?
No, I didn't get that vibe from his lines when my teammates are Stukov. I've never played Stukov, though.
Yeah.
But Stukovs are kind of annoying because they'll have a huge army and then all of a sudden they'll have nothing because it's infested and they have time life. And
Oh, they die. They just corrode.
he's
over
not
time?
my favorite commander to co-op with. I'll say
He's
that.
feast or famine.
Interesting.
I play Artanis, probably not surprising.
Big shot.
But he just happens to match my play style. He's all about just warping in a ton of units. Like that's what he's there for. He's there to go from I have no army to I have an army. Like he's basically co-op Commander Artanis is that StarCraft cinematic where I guess Probius, after the retcon, built the little gate and then an army just appeared to go fight the Zerg.
You should play Vorazin because you have Vorazin with the expansion pack, I think. And you drop in free dark pylons that cloak, and you just call them down. They don't.
Ooh, are they like all purpley and dark? Like
yeah, they look cool. Like there's unique StarCraft assets. The coolest dashboard is the Alarak one. It's all black and red. Like it just looks so slick when you play Alarak.
Yeah.
And his big mechanic is instead of making zealots, you make ascendants, and whenever he goes to die, he just kills his ascendants to heal himself.
This all reminds me. This reminds me. Somebody on Twitter sent me a link to a Japanese YouTube video. I didn't understand anything they were saying because I don't know Japanese, but they had clearly built auto chess in the StarCraft engine, but using models from Heroes of the Storm. Yeah, it looked all right. I mean, it definitely had the UI of the StarCraft, like we haven't done anything to the UI yet in our mod kind of look. It still looked like StarCraft UI. But the actual characters running around on the chessboard thing and the fighting and whatever, all I saw Vala running around. I saw
that was the impression I got from the League of Legends one. Was like I'm like, there's no new assets here.
No, none of it.
Like the UI was updated, but like what the people are doing just look like what they look like in the base game.
Yep, absolutely. So, pretty funny though to. See, I guess it makes sense that somebody would eventually get around to doing it. Whether it's any good or not, I don't know. I couldn't tell, but it seemed like it was something.
It would need a unique spin to make the formula better.
Completely agree.
Yeah, that's what Heroes did.
Here's this.
That's a good question.
Time for a quick email. This is from listener Corey, who sent in an email to the site frogpants.core. I can't talk. frogpants.com/core. That's it. frogpants.com/core. Corey says this. Hello, John, Bo, and Scott. I almost said Joan for some reason. First off, I have to say I love your show. It is the perfect mix of comedy and in-depth discussion about gaming, the culture, issues big and small. Well, thank you for that, Corey. He goes on to say, forgive me if this question has already been asked, but here goes. Often in gaming discussions, we talk about games that have had bad expansions or sequels that never should have been made or were big letdowns. What games do you think deserve or need an expansion or sequel but never got one? Well, outside of Diablo's unreleased expansion for 3, which we all know about now and it will never happen, I guess we can cross that off the board. That would be my number
I think
one.
we have to take World of Warcraft off the board because everyone loves and hates various expansions, and we'll.
Yeah, you can't count those, I don't think. But standalone games of some sort over time. Bo, can you think of any that jump out at you?
Bad expansions or sequels that should?
No, I think the question is the ones that you would want to see.
Yeah, the ones that you never got, you would like to have seen. So, for example, if you really
deserve or need... Okay, well, Diablo 3, easy.
Yeah, that's where I'm having a problem. Is I'm having that thing where there's such an obvious answer to me. I'm having a hard time thinking of anything that isn't that obvious answer.
I also think it's a travesty that they stopped making space quests. I mean, they got sequels, but it got weird. But like, that's just a childhood thing. Like, I grew up playing Space Quest and loving Space Quest.
I loved them too. I'm with you.
I just kind of wish the 2 guys from Andromeda. I don't know why they stopped, but they stopped.
There was some big fight because they had something going with Kickstarter, right? And then it all fell apart. I can't remember what happened there.
I guess
something bad happened.
But if Blizzard would come along and buy up the IP and just make Blizzard Space Quest, that'd be okay. I don't know. Do you guys have any other games what games do you think deserve or need an expansion or sequel?
Oh, I got one. So on the 3DO and then later on PlayStation, there was a game. I had a 3DO for a hot minute. Cool. There was a game called,
Shoot.
It was a like 3/4 view, top-down view with helicopters and tanks and jeeps, and it played real like Flight of the Valkyrie in the background, like that. It was super intense.
Was it an SNK game?
I don't think so. It was this multiplayer thing. That was so much fun. Still to this day. Oh, I gotta find the name of it.
All right,
Was
well,
it
you look
Return
that
Fire?
up.
That's it. Return Fire.
Oh, okay. You got
Oh, Return Fire is so good. So yes, I think Return Fire deserves not only a sequel, but now at this point like a full-on reboot, because that game was freaking great. Thank you, Matulian. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a few that I can think of.
Okay.
I would like to have seen a sequel to an actual sequel to Chrono Trigger. I know Chrono Cross is officially the sequel, so we could say a sequel to that. But I mean, it's just shocking to me that with the reverence that game has, that there was no real follow-up to Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross. There is a game, here's my obscure pick that probably not a lot of people have heard of. There's a game called Anachronox, which is basically a Final Fantasy style RPG, but it was done here in America. And it was a PC turn-based role-playing game. It was an incredibly funny game about a detective in space. It had a wild roster of characters where you had the space detective, a robot. There was a planet, a literal planet that was shrunk down that joined your party. It was a crazy cool game, and it ends on a cliffhanger, and it deserved a sequel. I think there was a Kickstarter to try and do it, and I don't think it made it. But Anachronox was a fantastic game. I'm tempted to say Mass Effect, but honestly, I don't know how you actually do a satisfying sequel to Mass Effect. I'm not surprised Andromeda failed, I guess. So,
but at least it got some sequels that were okay. So that's the thing about Space Quest 2. I'm like, it's kind of a bad answer because there were 6 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, and I have an updated pick now.
Oh,
yeah.
And so have you guys played Banished?
Yeah, it's a city builder survival thing.
It's one of the greatest games of all time in my books. Because it's non-violent.
Yeah.
It's a compelling city builder. I just found it very thematically tight. I just love that game. I love that game.
It's non-violent, but it's kind of horrific. Like the things that people go through in that game.
Oh no, it's permadeath, and it's a harsh game. It's really fun. But I would love to see updated UI. Like I'd love to see a second take with all the pillars of what made that game the thing that it is, because that game it's like in the FTL category when it's just like it's beautiful work of gaming art. And Banished, I've had like a ton of hours played in that game. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
Banished is pretty good.
And it's like a one-man development team kind of game. Yeah. So the guy does post dev blogs, but I think he's working on something else. But I want Banished 2.
Oh, I got a great one.
Okay.
Eternal Darkness. Now, I know there's a whole thing around Eternal Darkness and the guy who made it and all of that. We don't need to get in the weeds with that business.
Yeah.
Just purely on the merits of the idea of a horror video game that messes with you, deals with old gods and ancient ones and stuff like that, and plays with your supposed sanity, is a really cool idea that I can't believe has not carried forward.
Yeah, it was something at the time, like really, really something. And certainly the fact it was on, like, it was a GameCube exclusive was kind of nuts in its own way. Like that was a trip, that game. I don't know that you'll ever see it, but the fact that somebody hasn't figured out a way to take what made that thing tick and build another game like it. And if they have, I don't know about it. So if anyone hears this and says, "Oh, they totally did, Scott. It's called, Booger of the Earth Part 5 or whatever," tell me, send me an email, and I'll learn all about it. But right now, I don't think that thing ever got duplicated in any sort of meaningful way. So that's a really good pick. Yeah, these are good answers. We'd love to know what some of yours are. If you guys have thoughts on that, send your emails in. You can contact us by going to the website, frogpants.com/core. I guess gonna do it for the show.
Did you have a pick? I think maybe I missed.
Yeah, Return Fire. On the
Return Fire. I didn't miss it.
3DO and
made a really big deal out of it.
3DO, PS1, something else, some other console maybe got it, but it was so cool in the day. I mean, maybe I'd play it now and not think as much of it, but I thought it was.
Was
really
it on
good.
like TurboGrafx 16 or something like that?
Could have been. I remember the PS1 version was a huge improvement over the 3DO version, which I don't even remember why. Maybe it was load times or something, but 3DO is kind of garbage. But speaking of a series that's long dead, maybe, and reminding me of 3DO, is I would like a proper Road Rash sequel. That would be great. But I know Road Redemption already exists, which is an indie sort of spiritual successor, and it's pretty much that. So maybe I don't need it. But man, I loved Road Rash back in the day.
Oh, I got a classic one for you that I would totally take a sequel for. I got a new one.
What do you got?
I got two, but one. We'll stick to one. But Master Blaster. Or Blaster Master.
Master
on the NES.
Blaster.
I love that game as a
Blaster
kid.
Master is great.
Yeah, it is good. Also, wait a minute.
That's my honorable mention is Blaster Master.
All right, I like it.
I'm adding one as well. I just thought of a new one. There's about 1 million Star Wars games that I love that I think deserve a sequel, but one that stands out is a game called Star Wars Rebellion, which was a somewhat turn-based strategy game, somewhat real-time for space battles, but it was this crazy thing where you could be on the Empire, you could be on the Rebels, and it was tech trees and kind of that like taking over systems. You could build a Death Star and just start wiping out entire star systems with it if you played as the Empire. It was so freaking good. I'm actually looking at it. It's on Steam. I feel like I should get it. I bet it doesn't play super great, but I put the link. I put the link in the chat. I'm so nostalgic for this game. I used to play hours and hours and hours of this game. It was so good.
I'm looking at it now. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember it. I don't. Oh, I do remember it. Never mind. I know this game. Oh yeah, I bet this still has its moments. Right? There's still stuff to do.
I think it's gotta still be good. Oh, it was amazing. Like lore characters you could get and they could die. Like there was permadeath.
Yeah.
So like you might send Han Solo on a dangerous mission and he might not make it back, and that might be in your little story where he died and things like that. And
it has actual picture or actual likenesses of actual characters. Like that's straight up Princess Leia there. And 98. What a year that was. Great games.
Yeah.
There's Carrie Fisher doing a thing. All right. Real quick, chat room asked if I'm ever going to play that mashup that I promised to play. Now I'm going to do it.
Oh, right.
What's his name?
Ooh, you guys are in for a treat.
Yeah. I want to give him credit.
Wait, I think he might have messaged me somewhere, so let me get that.
I think he just said something in the chat too, but I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Fart kiss. Are you sure you're not a random player on our heroes team the heroes opposite team?
Well, I don't know if we have permission to say the full name, but it's Dave.
Dave, aka Fart Kiss. Ugh, that sounds awful. He made a mashup for the show, and we're gonna play it. It's about 2 minutes long, so let's just play it here and see what we get. Here you go. Enjoy.
All men went to the forest on the fishing trip, and we were on an island.
And Santa was there.
Well, have you ever done any like bush stuff?
It has its wiener in your orifice again, does it?
Which orifice? You'll have to guess.
My
That's
ear.
for patrons only.
Yeah.
My butt was dirty, let me tell you. When you're roughing it, you don't take a shower for a while. You're full of sweat. The sun's bearing down on you. You're just eating fish, and
I think that's cool in its own right, and I actually think it feels good.
I meant more roughing it. Like if you just spend time in the bush.
Okay, I'm having a really good time in there. It felt right and good.
Milky beans.
They're a little bit. How do I put this? It's a little more fluid.
Creamy beans.
What are the two monstrous ones?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It comes up if you go into the outdoors.
Yeah, it didn't stick at all, and there's a lot to like. It turns out. John, do you? What's your usual when it comes to this sort of thing?
Get in there and do it. There's a chance you could be burned for a while.
I have this issue. It's nightmarishly long. All of these things are coming. None of it's there. And I'll be a part of the growth of this thing before it even hits because I trust those guys. I'm enjoying the hell
Also,
out of it.
mounting is great.
Nice piece of white bread.
And if you know you're going to be all in on that, then sure, get in now. Why not?
And you were drinking shit. Smegma.
Yes!
It's like rubbing your face on a public toilet.
I don't want to shame anybody for their weird kink, but, you know, if you're going to blow bubbles in my toilet, warn me or something.
Doesn't that mean it's also up his butt crack?
Maybe a little poop fart comes out and it's dirty down there, okay?
Right,
Different parts have been dabbed in my sweaty butthole for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I just see the butt, and I'm like, well, it's up there.
Eventually, it's getting in the mouth. Like, it's not necessarily the same part that's in the butt that's now in my mouth or in my nose. How do I know what part is on my mouth?
I think you really hammered it home. There you go. It's pretty great. It did escalate quickly, but so did that episode it was pulled from. Like, chat room says that escalated quickly. If you listen to the episode where all that Bo butt stuff came from, that entire
That's like the last
conversation.
10 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
Because I remember John saying, this is the end part of Core. You've made it. Welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was awesome. Dave, is it? Butt kiss? Fart kiss? Sorry. Fart kiss? We really appreciate your hard work, man. Thank you for that. If you'd like to leave us emails, I already told you how. If you want to send us a voicemail, 801-471-0462.
Imagine kissing a fart.
Dude, gross. That sounds awful. What would it even entail, kissing a fart? What would that
I
be
think
like?
it would be accidental.
Well, you'd probably have to put your face somewhere close to the point of... what do you call it?
I don't know.
Like, you're already in a situation where you're kissing near the butt, and
Yeah.
it just escalates from there.
Yeah, another mashup on its way, everybody. Look for it in the future. That's going to do it for the show. Thanks for being here. If you like this nonsense, support us at patreon.com/core show. That's patreon.com/core show. All you need to know is there. So go check it out. You can also find us at frogpants.com/core. Leave us that voicemail at 801-471-0462. Follow us on Twitter. The show's at CorePod, John_Jagger, Scott Johnson, and Bo Schwartz. That's going to do it for us. Bo, any final words of wisdom about butts or anything before we go?
Are there any words of wisdom about butts?
No. Just
don't
put your
poo
finger
isn't
in there.
good for you guys.
Keep your butt behind you.
Keep your butt where it belongs, in the back. That's going to do it, everybody. For me, for Bo, for John, we'll see you next time. This show is part of the Frog Pants Network.
Frog Pants Network.
Get more shows like this at frogpants.com. It's one of my favorite things Bo ever did.
Oh my gosh.
You did that on TWD.